If your husband, father, or grandfather was 87 years old, has done 31 years in prison, has terrible Alzheimer's disease, believes he's the president of the United States, sometimes the warden of the prison, he can't walk by himself, he can't go to the bathroom by himself, he's dying basically, would you want him to have a compassionate release? I know I would. And Vic Orena, he deserves one. Hey everyone, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese, and I hope everybody is doing well and all is good on this end. Let me get it out of the way real quick. Yes, Sammy and Michael is happening. It's in the works. I think we've kind of moved up the release date, so just stay tuned. Not going to say much more, but you know who's in control of this at this point in time? Not me, even though we do have input, but it's being worked on. Be out soon. What are we going to do today? You know, some things really disturb me. I think you saw a little bit of that in the past couple of weeks, but I got to tell you, you know, when I left my former life, I didn't leave it because I was mad at people. I didn't want to get back at people. I wasn't seeking revenge on anyone. I know that, you know, a lot of people have left that life and have done things for different reasons. And sometimes they were upset with the way the life treated them, with the way people treated them. I get it. That wasn't my situation. I just wanted out of the life. And I'm not going to go into my story. You're all pretty familiar with it. But there are things that really bother me. You know, when I talked a couple of weeks ago about the misleading and absolutely false story about Carmine Persico Jr., my former boss, being a rat, it was disturbing because it's not true. And look, you know, Persico and I, at one time, we were close. You know, he made me a capo regime, a captain. We were close for a while. When I walked away from the life, he didn't like it, you know, contract on my life, whatever. I understand. That's the penalty you pay when you betray your oath. I betrayed Omerta. I walked away from it. I get it. But I didn't dislike him. I'm not going to say he's a rat because he did those things to me, allegedly did those things to me. So it bothered me, and I spoke up for what I believed was the right thing. He was no rat, and he shouldn't have been gotten that tag. It was wrong. He was a stand-up guy in that life. He did his time, went to prison, whatever. And now there's another story, you know, and it's about little Vic Orena. It was very, very disturbing to read the story, and I'm going to read parts of it today. It was in the New York Post. It was in all the New York papers. They cover this stuff. It was about Vic, who was convicted as a result of another Colombo war between the Vic Orena faction and the Carmine Persico faction. He was convicted in that case when everybody came to trial. He was given 3 life sentences back to back, ridiculous, plus 85 years. How do you give somebody 3 life sentences plus 85 years? I know I'm going to hear some controversial comments about that. Well, Mike, he was a killer. I don't want to get into that at the moment. I will get into it as we go along. His family has been petitioning for a compassionate release for him. Let me give you a little background. Vic Orena, I knew him all my life. He was an associate of my father's for quite some time. He became a soldier in the family. He later became a capo. He became very close to Junior. He and I had our differences. I can tell you this, he at one time connected with John Gotti and tried to make a move on me in the gas business. I'm not going to get into all the detail. I might have said it in a prior video, I don't know. Persico stood up for me at that point in time. It was unsuccessful what they tried to do. Again, not important, it's part of the life, things like that happen all the time. So I can't say that, you know, he was one of my favorite guys, but, you know, he was a good guy. A lot of people liked him. I was in the bullpen, Metropolitan Detention Center, the federal jail, when all of us were being locked up, RICO cases back then. This was back in, I think, 84, 85, around there. And I was in the bullpen. That's where you go when you're either waiting to be picked up to go to court or when you're brought back to the jail and they're ready to bring you to your housing unit. Persico Jr. and Jerry Lang were there. And we had a discussion. And it was then that I told Junior that I was taking a plea for 10 years, $15 million restitution on this whole gasoline racketeering case. Junior wasn't happy with that. He said, you should have consulted me first. I said, why, Junior? They give me a good deal. I got to take it. I can preserve my life. He said, you're right. With 10 years, he said, you'll be going home tomorrow. It's not a big deal. I was under the old law. You still got parole. Not like today. You got to do 85% of your time. So for me, it was a deal that I had to take. I had to accept because it was my sixth case at that point in time. I had 2 federal racketeering cases. I had beat 5 cases, but it was only a matter of time before they got me. I was a target. It wasn't going away. Too much stuff going on the street. I wasn't going to beat them forever. So I'm taking a deal. And at the same time, Junior told me that while he was away and his son Ali Boy was away, who was another capo, who was my gumbada, he baptized my son John, he said, I'm going to make Little Vic my acting boss until I come home. Whether I was happy about it or not is not the issue at this point in time. But he told me in that meeting that Little Vic was going to be the acting boss until Ali Boy came home, and then Ali Boy was going to take over the family. So that's how it was. So I kind of knew in advance that was happening. I go off to prison. Make a very long story short, after a certain amount of time, Little Vic started to be dissatisfied with the way, from what I understand, from what I was told, from my dad told me, with the way Junior was trying to run things from prison. Long story short, he put a consortium of people together that were on his side, and he decided that he was going to take over the family. Junior's not a guy that you're going to just walk in and take over. What happens? We go to war. As a result of the war, a lot of guys got killed. A bunch of guys became informants. 50, 60 guys went to jail for life. And Vic Orena was one of them. He got convicted. There was an attempt made on his life. He escaped that. Vic gets convicted and gets 3 life sentences plus 85 years. I believe he's been in jail about 31 years. Now, my feelings towards Vic don't matter either way in a situation like this. I want to read the article that this kind of prompted from. Now, I knew this was going on, but the article that kind of prompted me to tell this story. I was in the New York Post, Daily News, whatever, they're all the same. And the title of the article was, the headline was, Alzheimer's Issues Has the Former Acting Boss of Colombo Crime Family Thinking He's President of the United States. Now, Little Vic is 87 years old. Let me read a little bit. Victor Orena went from leading the Colombo crime family to thinking he's the President of the United States, his lawyer revealed yesterday. The lawyer for the Alzheimer's stricken ex-boss of the crime family called for the mafioso's compassionate release from prison, revealing the mobster sometimes believes he's the commander-in-chief running the military because of the degenerative disease. Orena, who now uses a wheelchair and turned 87 in August, is, quote, a shell of a man, his attorney David Schoen said at a Brooklyn federal court hearing. Mr. Orena is completely unable to self-care. The delusions have been there for quite a while. Mr. Orena does not know who he is or where he is. I repeat, Mr. Orena does not know who he is or where he is. When not laying claim to the White House, the octogenarian Orena, known during his reign as acting boss of the Colombos as Little Vic, believes he is the warden of the facility where he remains imprisoned, the Federal Medical Center in Devens, Massachusetts. That's where my father was, by the way. According to Schoen, Orena contracted COVID-19 in prison and then declared the pandemic was a conspiracy conjured up by President Biden. Orena is now unable to walk on his own or use the bathroom without help, the lawyer said. While federal prosecutors did not dispute Orena's myriad health issues, they argued that the venerable gangster should remain behind bars because he could still pose the threat of violence. Okay, here's where I have an issue. At times he thinks he's the President of the United States. He has Alzheimer's disease, which if any of you know any member of a family that's been stricken, it is a horrible disease. It eventually kills you because your organs shut down at a certain amount of time, and it kills you. I've known many people, unfortunately, that have died of Alzheimer's disease, but dying was almost merciful to see how they had to live their life during that disease. It's horrible. So at times he thinks he's the President of the United States. At other times he thinks he's the warden of the prison. He's already had COVID. He's 87 years old. He did 31 years in prison. He can't walk by himself. He can't go to the bathroom by himself. And yet the government is saying he still poses a threat of violence. Explain to me how. Please explain that to me. Now, I spent almost 25 years on the street. I am telling you right now, Vic Orena does not pose any threat of violence to anyone. Anybody that's on the street right now, whether it be in the Colombo family or anywhere else, is paying zero attention to Vic Orena. He's gone. He's finished. He's history. He's not in anybody's thoughts. Right now, it's all about the family of Vic Orena, who I really have compassion for, and Vic Orena himself. Now, let me ask you this. As a tax-paying citizen, why would you want your tax-paying dollars to go to caring for Vic Orena, who doesn't know who he is, can't care for himself, when he's better off going home and let his family compassionately live out his life and take care of it with him? Why is that? What is so horrible about that? You know, look, I'm a Christian. Maybe some of you know, look, I get comments all the time. I understand. When you put yourself out there on YouTube, you take the good with the bad. I get it. People have an opinion. They have a right to express it. You hope that they express it with integrity and with dignity and with some knowledge behind it without being disrespectful. But hey, to each his own. On the internet, you can do whatever the heck you want. Nobody knows who half these people are anyway. But I do have some compassion. I would like to see Vic Orena be home with his family. Now you're going to say, but Michael, he was a murderer. He did this, he did that. Look. He was in a war with his family. I know Vic. Vic didn't have a reputation like Greg Scarpa or like Roy DeMeo. Vic was a soldier in the family. He did his thing within the family, like I did my thing within the family. Does it make us good people? No. But he's not around there hurting innocent people and going into neighborhoods and causing havoc and doing all of this. I believe he should have a compassionate release and be home with his family to live out his life and for them to take care of him. Why should the family be made to suffer? He's got sons. He's got, I believe, 20 grandchildren. He got great-grandchildren also. He's got a family. Let them take care of him and let them live out the rest of his life with them. He's done 31 years in prison. How many years in prison do you have to do before you pay the price for something like this? You know, nobody's going to listen to me. The judge certainly isn't listening, but I'm trying to tell you people that I think this is wrong. Look, my dad, at 100 years old, after doing 40 years in prison, we couldn't get him a compassionate release. And he was ready to come home shortly. We couldn't get him a compassionate release. You have to be within about 24 hours of your death to get a compassionate release. And even at that point, it's very difficult. And yet today, in places like New York and Seattle and certain places in California and Chicago, you can rob a store. You can beat up an old lady on the street. You can steal her pocketbook. You can riot. You can cause havoc, and you can be arrested and be out on bail the same day. The same day. How is this justice? Answer me that. Here's a guy that's paid the price. His family has paid the price. I say you let him home. And I believe in compassionate release, and it's not only for Vic Orena. Look, I spent 8 years in prison. I visited my dad for over 25. I get it. There are people in prison that have done their time, and let them go home and die in peace. Let their family have a little closure with them. You know, to me, it's as ugly as not allowing people to see their family who are dying of COVID. Man, I have compassion for those people. That's horrible. Imagine your loved ones being in the hospital, you know, on their deathbed, and you can't go in to visit them. I don't get it. I don't think that was right, and I understand. I'm not downplaying the severity of COVID at all. But think of the family. How do you get over that? Think about it. You had a loved one in the hospital, dying. You couldn't visit them. How do you get over that? Very difficult. You know, people got to have compassion in life. You know, I'll tell you something. I think one of the reasons I have been so blessed, and I have been, I thank God every day for the blessings. I'm alive. I'm free. I have a family. I'm 70 years old. Whatever happens at this point happens, but God has been very good to me. I think one of the reasons for that, because even through the time I spent on the street doing the wrong thing, I was a soldier in a Colombo crime family, and that was wrong. And I was doing the wrong things at times. I was committing crimes. I was involved in criminal activity. I had a criminal mentality at that time within the context of the family and the things that I was doing. But when I had to do something wrong, it troubled me. I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. So again, I'm not copping a plea, but I didn't feel good about it. When Larry Iorizzo, who became the main informant in my case, he was my partner in the gas business, you know this. When we thought he was becoming weak, people in my family said, Mike, we'll take care of him. We'll take him out. Don't worry about it. He's not going to hurt you. And I said, no. Look, his kids call me Uncle Mike. My kids call him Uncle Larry. I said, I can't do that. Our families are close. I said, if he flips, I'll beat him in court. I'll deal with it. And I just couldn't do it. Now, does that make me a good person? I don't know. All I'm saying is that I've been compassionate most of my life. I have a feeling for people. And in situations like this, I feel for Vic's family. Whether we got along or not, it doesn't matter. It's what's right and what's wrong. Because you may have a difference with somebody doesn't mean that you wish the wrong thing on them. Two wrongs don't make a right. My dad taught me that a long time ago. Two wrongs do not make a right. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that I wish the system would start to treat everybody the same and treat people fairly. This is a man, Vic Orena, who deserves to go home to his family. He doesn't know who he is. He's done his time, 31 years. Consider the family. He's got a wife, he's got children, he's got grandchildren, he's got great-grandchildren. They're going to suffer through this Alzheimer's disease with him. It's not going to be a bed of roses, but at least they're with him and they're going to have some closure and they can take care of him. And it's not the taxpayers that are doing it. There's no sense in this anymore. No sense in it anymore. We got to have common sense within the system. That's some of the things that are wrong. We got to have common sense and we got to have compassion. God will be pleased with people with compassion. So, you know, I really hope that Vic gets a break. The judge hasn't made a decision yet. If there's any way that she can hear this, you know, this is from a former mob guy who had a relationship with Vic that wasn't always great. But I would plead with you, and I would say it was the right thing to do. Don't listen to the government. He doesn't pose a threat to anybody. I'll give you an affidavit in court on that. He doesn't pose a threat to anybody. That's just nonsense. And you know what? The prosecution knows that. They just don't know what else to say. They've admitted, okay, that he's sick. They've admitted. They haven't denied any of this. How can you not deny that a person has Alzheimer's disease, thinks he's the president, thinks he's the warden, can't go to the bathroom by himself, can't walk, is 87 years old? How can you then say he's a threat to society? I don't get it. That he can still incite violence. Do they have any proof of that? Are they bringing any factual information? Do they have a witness that says something like that? Of course not, because it doesn't make sense. It's not the truth. It's not happening. They just had to make up something to keep him in there because that's what their superiors told them to do. It's wrong. He deserves a compassionate release because we do need compassion in the system in the right situations. And again, I'll say it again. People are out there in New York, I read it every day, robbing old ladies in the street. There's videos on it. In the newspaper, stealing a woman's pocketbook, running away on a bicycle. They get locked up, they get bailed the same day. Rioting in cities, burning places down. Nothing happens. But here's a 87-year-old man with Alzheimer's that's did 31 years and has a family, and you don't want to let him go. I mean, come on. Is that the system that we live under? If it is, it needs tremendous reform. So, that's it for today. Yes, I do get pretty passionate about things like this because it strikes a chord in me. You know, maybe again because of my dad did all that time and at times deserved a compassionate release. But, you know, I'm not standing up for the life when people will go on there and they say, oh, Michael, you know, I thought you were rid of that life and you don't understand. These were gangsters. Okay. You know, I even said this many times. People that commit crimes and go to prison, they're suffering in prison. They still got to do the time. I have compassion for some of them. Okay, they made a mistake. They committed a crime. But once you get in prison, you still got to do the time. And it's not easy. It's not easy for people that didn't make a mistake. It's not easy for people that did commit a crime. It's not easy. So I have compassion for some of them because I know what they're going through. Maybe because I've been there and done that and seen it all my life. Compassion is something that all of us need to have in the right circumstances. It doesn't take the place of justice, but it's part of justice. Compassion is part of justice. In this case, Vic Orena deserves to be home, and I pray to God that the judge does the right thing and rules in his favor and gives his family some peace, takes the burden off the taxpayer, puts it where it belongs with the family, and let them live out their life with their father, grandfather, and the people that at one time he loved. He doesn't know who they are now, but I just hope it happens. So that's it for today. Thank you, all those of you that are subscribing. Really appreciate it very much. We're really moving up there in the numbers. Most appreciated. We try to give you good content. And for those of you that have been loyal, thank you very much. For those of you that just tune in, we appreciate you also. So thanks a lot. And we'll continue to do our best to provide good content. MichaelFranzese.com, join.michaelfranzese.com. Please keep coming. The crew, the inner circle, it's really growing. We're having some great things happening there. Go on, see if it's for you. There's no obligation. If you don't like it, you're out. I guarantee you're going to enjoy it. The community is really growing, and everybody's having a great time, and they're really benefiting by it, and so am I, so I really appreciate it. Watch for my book, Mafia Democracy. It's coming soon. You're going to have an opportunity to buy it before it hits the stands. Watch for it. I think I'm going to blow the lid off of things. You're going to be very surprised when you read that book, and I'm telling you, it's not a gimmick. It is factual. I did a lot of research, and I spent my whole life understanding this ideology that's going on in our government today. So that's it for today. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be safe, be healthy, God bless, and God willing, I'll see you next time. Take care.